So let's just move, let's say puts dating tax app dot puts as usual our routes requests. Also declare a tax. So this is just to find the tax, you understand, that we're looking for to update. So what we are basically doing here is that we are finding the tax based on the ID we are receiving. So now this is a JavaScript function find, which is an arrow function that we are going to pass, where we are going to use the t.id, which is the ID we are receiving from the route. And this is where we are going to get the ID with a some column ID. So what this means is that this proves now you are getting this ID, the value for this, and this is it here, this is t. So t means like the tax. So the tax.id, you are going to like compare it with the one being passed through the request. So you're going to put sort of convert it to int to make sure that is of the same type as a number, you understand, so that the ID that would be passed would not be of any format, because anyone passing a character won't work, because our ID is a number. So when we come to TypeScript, we'll discuss more on that, on handling types. Like, so what I basically did here was that this for find, you're going to use t, that is a tax. You can use tax, and then you can use t tax or tax.id. So our tax t passing the arrow function will use the ID of the tax that is equals to the ID being passed through the request, because anything you are passing through the route here is known as params. So now we are getting our ID, the ID being passed by the user using request.params.id. Okay, so now after getting the tax, then we would check, even before getting the tax, after using the ID, if the tax is not in our table. Let's say user passed like something like 5, and then 5 doesn't have a tax that is in the table, so it would return an error with status 404, which would indicate tax not found. So now we're trying to add like tax not found. So tax that's done is equals to true. So what this is doing again is that is updating the status of the tax to true. So that means anytime you are updating a tax, you are trying to pass that the tax has been completed. So that is what we are doing using this update for a tax, because you know by default all your tasks are false already. The only one we have now which is true is build API, which is already been set by default. So let's assume we are trying to set this deploy API to true, so you would be using the updating of a task. So so this is what we have. It's just like a 4-line const tags. This is just a JavaScript function of find. So we are finding the tags based on the request ID being sent. So, and if no tags is available, it will return a response error 404, tags not found, so that the user would know what is really happening. So but if the tags is If the task is being found, then we would have to update the status of the task done equals to true. So and then we will return the response of the task completely. So let's test this and see. So now what we'll be using, we'll change the request type to put, and then from this what we'll be passing through here, let's try and pass the ID of 4. So we don't have any 4. So as you can see now we have tags not found. So but let's update the last data I created, which is deploy API. So let's click on send. You would see that yes, it has returned a 200 OK. So successfully updated. So and our done is now true. So that means it's just like you updating um the tags that you have been in progress so completed. So once you get all, you would see that deploy API has true here. So now we are done with the section for updating. So let's move to the next section, which is deleting of a task. So yeah, let's move to deleting of a task, which should be the last section we'll be covering for this tutorial. Thank you. Let's continue. Hope you are following me right along. Okay. So now we would be working on delete. Moving a tag, so by default let's go ask that delete and then open the brackets. Sorry, no way is failing this for me. So I have a API slash docs, which is the route. So now let's move, and then okay, let's add our request and response. Arrow functions, and let's see. So now would use the ID tool for this. So add slash ID, because anytime you're trying to delete, you must know the ID of the task you're trying to delete. So now what we'll do now is we'll filter the ID. So we'll filter the tags by the ID. So tags.filter is almost similar to the find JavaScript function we used both. So filter, then we'll use our T or tags arrow function. So t.id is equals to okay. So what we do is moving a tags not equals to okay, as int, trying to convert it in request params dot id, then so what we are trying to simulate here is that we are not performing the delete as it's supposed to be in the database. So since we are using just a pretend database, so what we are trying to do is that once the user click on delete, we would just show him all the other tags apart from the one which he choose to delete, so that it's from the user perspective it would be like, yes, I've already deleted this. So but for this anytime we are trying to work on the real time database would simulate how the delete works there perfectly. So for now, it's just like we're trying to create a scenario for that. So that's why we use the tags, because the tags was filter. So what we are doing is we are filtering all those tags ID that are not equals to the current ID being passed, so that we can return those tags. So now our response would be status 204, which is to indicate it has been deleted successful. So, and if we like, we can return the tags again in a JSON format. So now let's test and see. Test with the postman and see. So now here would be having deletes, and then here I would be passing the ID as params here. So I'm trying to delete. Let me just try with tax 1, and then what we would have now is 204 no content. But why is it returning? Okay, maybe because I added it at the end here. So let's move it, because okay, so let's try and see. Still yet, or no, it's not returning anything. So this is the terminal, this is the Google Chrome. So let's run it again and see. So now it's currently being run. So let's say send cannot delete tax 1. Okay, let me say 3 404 not found API tags. So let's check the delete where we're having it wrong. Okay, this from the route here. Let's see. API tags 3 not found. Okay, let's get. Okay. So I think the issue we are having is because we are not actually dealing with the database directly. So I think showing an error takes. So let's see, API tags and then ID tags filter to the API response. Okay, so let's put it again and see. So as you can see, the answer is 204 no content. So this is just like showing a success message after this has been completed. So but when we start dealing with the real database from real database, then we would see how the delete function would work perfectly. So thank you, as we come to the end of this tutorial.